that is what we want to return. So once you've done that, you press you skip to the next line, and then you click tab, because any function, or rather any line of code that you're going to write when you've defined a function should start beyond this def function. So if you skip to the next line and you realize that your cursor is actually at the beginning of that line, you basically click tab, and it will automatically skip that for you. So what we want to do, let us comment out what we want. We want to clean, or rather what we want this function to do. The function should be able to clean. It cleans financial data in a data frame, and then what it does again, it removes commas, should have double M, commas, and from numeric columns. Any column that is numeric, the commas will be eliminated. Whatever we want to do, again, we want to convert either k to numbers. Again, lastly, what we want to do, we want to convert the percentage from the last column, convert percentage columns to float. So float is a number that has decimals, and then you can comment, you can use the opening, or rather the closing speech, or rather the closing remarks to comment out what you want to do. What we want now to do, again, we want now to basically dive deep into the objectives that we've laid in this area. First of all, we'll be cleaning our financial data in a data frame, removing the commas from numeric columns, and then converting volume with K stroke, or rather K or M, to numbers, and then convert the percentage columns to a float number. You will go to the next line, and then we'll comment out what we want to do in this juncture. So we write remove commas and convert to float. Float is a number that has decimal points, so don't forget that. Float for numeric columns. Once you've done that, skip to the next line, and then we are going to use a for loop to clean our data. We'll be using a for loop to clean our data. And how do you do that? We are going to use a for loop that is for column. So basically, we're not going to write column in full. We represent, or rather we write call, and Python will definitely call column, or rather for every call in df.columns, for every call in df.columns, and you realize at this point we want to basically, whatever we are assuming is that our data is referred to as df, or simply let us go ahead and write, let us use df row. And basically the reason as to why I really wanted us to use df because we are going to need a df row, once we are done writing this function. So let us retain that as df and continue with our function programming. So we've said for every column in df.columns, so we want to do what? You insert full colon and then write comment out. What we want to do, we want to now remove the columns completely. Remove columns, or rather remove, it's actually we are removing the commas from columns. So remove commas from all the columns. And then how do we do that? We use df and then open and close we use the square brackets in this point, at this point, because the reason as to why you use the square brackets is because you want to call column by column. You use square brackets when you want to call item by item. So at this point we won't write 0, 1, or rather we are not going to write any variable for each and every column. We want to call all the columns. So we're going to write df call and then equals df again call. We're going to use the square brackets. Yes, the square brackets, and then dot as type. As type string dot replace and it's supposed to be replace basically tell this function whatever it will be eliminating, and what we want to eliminate, the commas. So we're going to use opening and closing marks, and then you include a comma, that is the item that we want to get rid of, and then we want to replace that with none. We want to replace with none, and then we can write regex equals to false, and false in this case should be in capital letter. So what this column does, or rather this function does, it actually calls each and every column at a time, and realize this column should be strings, the string columns. So what it will do, it's going to locate each and every column, and then that column should be in string format, and then it is going to replace every comma that has been detected by an empty, or rather it's going to be replaced by nothing. When you include opening and closing remarks and you don't include anything in between, it basically implies that you're getting rid of that comma completely and you don't want to replace it with anything else. Once you've done that, we can now go to the next line, what we want to do, and basically we can we can go to the next line and try to comment out, and now basically get rid of the case. Basically this one caters for all the commas, so any column that has numeric values with a comma, they will be taken care of. And now what we want to do at this juncture, we want to look at the volume column. The volume column. So we're going to comment out and write that we want to convert the volume, or convert volume in short. Convert volume. Column name either either K or M. But in this case, remember, we're not looking at the volume column alone. We're looking at any column that has numeric values with either letter K or letter M. So we're going to look at the name column. Let us look at it. So it's volume, vol. Don't get confused with that. So we're going to look at any column that has vol, or anyone else can use a data with a name, with a full name, that is volume, and then go to the next line. So this is the task or the mandate that we have at this point. We want to convert volume if the column name contains vol or contains volume. So what we want to do again, we're going to use the for loop that we defined before. The if else function. So we go and so we're going to write if vol. Let us confirm whether it has a capital V or small v. V. So if vol, we're going to if vol, that column in column dot lower if volume in column dot lower, basically we're looking at the last item for each and every variable. You're going to define volume to number. Define volume to number. Define volume to number, because every time a number has an alphabet at the end of that number, it's no longer a number. It's no longer a number. We want to convert that to that volume, or rather that column, to number. And then that number, we are not going to write exactly that number, because we have big data. We are going to item X. So each and every item in that column will be referred to as X, and then skip to the next line. So we're going to say if K, capital K, if K in X, so if that column, or rather for every item in that column, if it has K at the end of that number, what is the function supposed to do?